Live from Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, this is Lunchtime Politics, where we unpack some of the biggest political stories as well as discuss issues of national interest. I am Kelly Egiga. Let's check out our radar this hour. President Bola Tinubu orders security chiefs to find the culprits of the deadly terrorist attack in Niger State, which left more than 40 persons dead. Plus, on the program, Nigerian Army records a win in the fight against terrorism, eliminating terrorists in Kano State. Lunchtime Politics starts right now. Many thanks indeed for joining us here on the program. Wherever you are watching from around the world, we're live from our global headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. I am Kelly Egiga. Well, so much to unpack on the program this hour. But today, we'll take a moment and focus on international politics, and perhaps some would say diplomacy and security, as Venezuelan President Mr. Nicolas Maduro is in the U.S. He was captured over the weekend. He's been in captivity now for about 3 days. We hear that any moment from now he will be tried in a court in New York. And that's our focus, everyone, on the program. But let's bring you up to speed with some developments here in Nigeria. As President Bola Tinubu has directed the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the DG of the Department of State Services, DSS, to track down and apprehend those responsible for the Kasuwan Daji attack, ensuring they are swiftly brought to justice. The President also directed security agencies to urgently rescue all kidnapped victims. According to a statement by his Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the President issued the directives on Sunday in response to the recent killings of villagers in Niger State by terrorists reportedly fleeing Sokoto and Zamfara states following a U.S. airstrike on Christmas Eve. President Tinubu strongly condemned the attack of the community and the abduction of women and children. The President also extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims, as well as to the government and people of Niger States. Well, the statement reads in part, open quote, "These terrorists have tested the resolve of our country and its people. They must face the full consequences of their criminal actions, regardless of who they are or their motives. They will be hunted down. Now, all those who aid, abet, or enable them in any way will be caught and brought to justice." End of quote. But the President also is calling on Nigerians to remain united and resolute in the face of this tragedy, warning against divisive rhetorics that could threaten national security and cohesion during this difficult period. In a related development, the Nigerian Army has now just announced that scores of bandits were neutralized during a coordinated ground and air operation following attacks on several communities in Kano State. Well, the Army reported that the bandits attacked Shanono and Tisian Yowa local government areas on the night of January 1, with the assault extending into the early hours of January 2, and troops of the Joint Task Force swiftly repelled the attacks, inflicting heavy casualties on the attackers. And the military sources disclosed this to journalists. He said the fleeing bandits were tracked from Kano to Karadua village in Matazo local government area of neighboring Katsina State. Where there, the air components of Operation Fasanyama carried out a decisive strike supported by aerial intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions that ensured precise targeting. Let's talk politics now. As the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has clarified that a recent statement attributed to Representative Leke Abejide endorsing President Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid does not in any way reflect the party's position. Speaking in the nation's capital, Abuja, during the inauguration of the party's zonal and state congress and appeal committees, ADC National Chairman Nafiu Bella reaffirmed the party's status as a committed opposition force in Nigeria.
I also want to use this opportunity to categorically distance the party leadership of ADC from the statement made by the once Honorable Leke Joseph Abejide in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the 2027 re-election campaign. This statement does not reflect the position of the African Democratic Congress as determining opposition party in Nigeria. We clearly rejected any association with this statement and reaffirmed our stand as a strong force in the nation's political space.
No more stories for you this hour. Youths of the Ogoni region in Rivers State have declared support for the re-election bid of President Bola Tinubu, commending his administration for what they describe as numerous confidence-building initiatives aimed at addressing a long-standing challenges in Ogoni land. The president of the Ogoni Youth Federation made this known during a press briefing held to mark the 33rd Ogoni Day. He said the occasion was a moment to honor the memories and legacies of Ogoni heroes. All right, so let's get to have our conversation of the program this hour as we take a moment and leave some of the issues in Nigeria and talk the international scene, issues around diplomacy, security, and leadership. As we have seen where U.S. President Mr. Donald Trump, just yesterday speaking to The Atlantic, has also sent some strong message and warning for the current president or vice president, who we understand will be sworn in any moment from now as the president of Venezuela. We're joined this hour by Abubakar Alkali, public policy analyst, who joins us live on the program from the UK. Good to see you again, Mr. Alkali. I mean, when you look at this development in the U.S., Maduro is not the first president or military leader who have been taken by the U.S. In fact, he's the third. There's the Panama's former military leader, Manuel Noriega, who was seized as well by the U.S. There's former Iraqi president Saddam Hussein as well, who was seized by the U.S. So this is the third time that the U.S. is having to do this. I wonder, perhaps, when you look at some of the rhetorics that have followed and condemnations and in some quarters commendations for the U.S. president, I'm not sure exactly which side of the divide you stand.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, viewers. I think the abduction of the Venezuelan president is an affront on international law and global security. It is actually an assault on the sovereignty, on a nation's sovereignty. Venezuela is a sovereign nation, and I think it is illegal and unlawful for any foreign nation to cross over into Venezuela without the consent of that government and abduct the president. And this is, as you pointed out, this has been happening over time. This is the third time, and obviously it is an affront on sovereignty of those nations. It is, you know, a tool for regime change. The U.S. uses this tool to actually remove a president or try to change a system, a political system, which doesn't align with their interests, especially when mineral resources are involved, particularly oil. So they try to change the, you know, the system. They remove by removing the president and installing their their stooge, their puppet, who will do their bidding. I think this is the background to it. In most cases, actually, this method, this regime change, is faulty. When it happens after all the casualties, you remember about 100 people were killed just on that day that Nicolas Maduro was abducted. So after all of that, the U.S. will come to say they are wrong. You remember the case of Saddam Hussein. The invasion was purely on weapons of mass destruction in 2003. And the U.S. came back to say that research, that intel about weapons of mass destruction was wrong after hundreds of thousands of people were killed. So this is actually an affront on global security. And also, I think you have to ask yourself, where is the United Nations? Where is the United Nations? How could the United Nations stand and watch a president, of a foreign nation, in this case, Donald Trump, cross over to another nation and abduct the president and install his own person? This has been happening over time. In 2024, last year, when Nicolas Maduro won an election, his election, the U.S. said they don't recognize him. They actually said it was the opposition leader, Gonzalez, that won the election as far as they're concerned. In 2019, even during Biden, they said they don't recognize the president. It is the Speaker of the Parliament that they recognize. So this has a background. And of course, the United Nations has to come in this kind of situations. If they don't come in to restore global peace and security, then you ask yourself, what is then the purpose, the significance of the United Nations? So at this point, you actually have to think deep. After Maduro, who is next? The U.S. said it's because there are drug cartels operating in Venezuela, his election.
Mr. Alkali, that's indeed my next question, because I was going to ask you if perhaps you're playing down on some of the accusations from the United States of America. The accusation is that Mr. Maduro has been accused of drug trafficking and weapons offenses, and of course they have also accused him of running a narco-terrorist regime. There's a list of other charges, we understand, as Mr. Maduro is set to appear before a New York court in the coming hours, and we'll bring our viewers up to speed as soon as we get them. So are you trying to play down on some of these accusations within Venezuela as well? The opposition party and forces there have also accused Maduro over the years of weaponizing elections. They have accused him of election rigging and malpractice and all of that. So are you playing down on some of these accusations and allegations?
Yeah, the U.S. accused him of narco-terrorism and also the presence of, drug cartels. But and also the opposition, clamping down opposition, which to a good extent is actually, a common practice, in nations. I'm not justifying it, but you see, the point is clamping down on opposition. And, even the drug cartels that the U.S. is speaking about, all those do not justify abduction of a foreign president. You see, when you have this kind of problems, and are we saying that the United States is the global police? Under what law is that coming? Under what law is that coming? Is the United States, do they have the prerogative?
Well, perhaps no laws, Mr. Alkali, perhaps no laws to prove that, but it's no doubt that the U.S. is a world power. It's no doubt that they control the United Nations and some of these international organizations.
Well, China is a global power as well, economically, politically. Look, let me tell you, there is a document that was prepared, during this Trump's administration, and it is called the Trump Corollary. The basis of that corollary is that the United States shall control the Western Hemisphere. The Western Hemisphere shall be controlled militarily, okay, politically, economically by the United States. And so these are all imperialist tendencies. They are neo-colonial tendencies, which cannot stand. They infringe on global security. They are affront, as I said, on international law. Okay, look at this. There are also allegations. The U.S. accuses the Venezuelan president of these crimes. But then also, there are also reports that the U.S. has been seizing Venezuela's oil tankers. They have been seizing their oil tankers, during this crisis. Okay, so if you are coming for drug-related offenses, for clamping down opposition, is that the way to go? Is seizure of oil the solution to that problem? And that is why I keep saying that the United Nations, you see, has a stand to make. Okay, the United Nations shall be the arbiter, shall be the judge in this case, shall be the organization that should come in to maintain global stability. But when a nation simply comes in and does what it wants in another nation, it infringes on sovereignty. There is sovereignty of nations. Okay? And it is infringed in this case.
So we'll touch on some areas because I like the fact that you've mentioned maybe the interests of President Trump and oil. And that also was reflected in presidential candidates in the last U.S. elections, Kamala Harris, her posts on social media a moment ago, which I'll take you up on. But let's talk about the international condemnation. You have mentioned China. Iran has also joined in that condemnation as international reactions continue to pour in following these developments. Both nations who are allies of Venezuela are calling for the immediate release of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. So I wonder perhaps what exactly the options could be for allies of Venezuela, China, Iran. I think even Russia has also condemned these attacks as well.
Yeah, well, the options should be diplomatic. It should be constructive engagement. Okay, through the United Nations, we all know the issues associated with the United Nations. This body has been accused of taking sides, not just in this case, in many other cases. But you see, war should not be the solution to this crisis. I think constructive, engagement with the United States, with Venezuela, with the United Nations, with all stakeholders, all parties involved, shall be the method of choice in this case. Because, as I said, you see, after this, you don't know what next. You see, you're already talking about division. Yeah, the world is already divided. Now, along these lines, you have the China, Iran, and other Russia, other supporters of Venezuela on the side of Venezuela, and you also have some countries, that are supporting Venezuela. You already have division. You already have balkanization of the world along political lines as a result of this. So this is one of the problems, and of course, we have to be absolutely careful. Why is it that anytime you have a Republican administration in the United States, then you have this kind of tension, you have this kind of problem? 2003, we all remember George W. Bush, okay, the Iraqi invasion, which was done on the basis of weapons of mass destruction, and that intel was
perhaps the ideologies of these parties, the Democratic Party and Republicans, perhaps would be a justification for why we always experience this. But some will also mention the fact that it was when Barack Obama was president that the U.S. also had to execute Osama bin Laden as well, and in such conditions that the whole world had to watch that live on international TV. I'll take you up just a moment on some other issues now, but let me just take you up on what Kamala Harris posted on her Twitter handle a few days ago. She says that the actions of President Donald Trump in Venezuela do not make America safer, stronger, or more affordable. She aligns with the fact that Maduro is a brutal, illegitimate dictator, as she has described him. But then again, she's also saying that there is an interest, that Trump is a businessman here, and perhaps the interest is not far-fetched from the fact that there's interest in the natural resources deposited right there in Venezuela. So when you look at the division that we see right now in the U.S., people even within the Republican Party have questioned these actions and all of that. So I'm wondering, perhaps when you now hear the president of the U.S. also threaten other countries, threatening military actions in Colombia. He has threatened the president of Colombia as well, Gustavo Petro. He has also threatened military action against Mexico as well. I'm just wondering perhaps what you foresee in the coming months and the tenor of President Donald Trump as regards war.
Yeah, well, there is always that apprehension. To be honest with you, when I had, President Trump has won his election, the last election he won, I actually said, congratulations, President Trump. But I hope you will not take the world into another war. Yes. You see, this is not just a hearsay. As soon as he was sworn in, President Trump said, Greenland, which has mineral wealth, belongs to the U.S. As soon as he was sworn in, you remember, that was the first, one of the first statements he made. The Greenland, the U.S. needs Greenland. Okay, and if you're talking of clamping down opposition, is Venezuela the only country that clamps down on opposition? I'm not justifying it. I'm not justifying dictatorship. But you see, almost all the countries around that axis, Mexico, Trump has threatened Mexico. He has threatened Mexico. Canada, he has threatened Canada. He has actually threatened almost everybody around that Western Hemisphere. So is that the way to establish peace? Is that the way to respect sovereignty of nations? Okay, is that the way to even control this insecurity and narco-terrorism and drug gangs? Is that the way to control it? By abducting the president?
Yes, we have to round off our conversation. Mr. Akali, just a moment so we can squeeze in perhaps just one final question before we let you go. We are absolutely pressed for time. I'm just wondering perhaps what exactly are the lessons for Nigeria and Africa? If you go on the streets of social media, there is that division, but a larger population of Nigeria, of those on social media are in support of what the U.S. president is doing with Venezuela. In fact, some are even suggesting even making, on a lighter note, saying that, look, you know what, perhaps Nigeria should be the next stage where you should have a full-scale invasion. And we see that just a few weeks ago, we see what played out in Sokoto, where the U.S. had to strike. So I'm just wondering perhaps what exactly, when you look at the potentialities of what we have as a people in Nigeria, most populous black nation, natural resources, there's oil as well, which some have said Mr. Donald Trump is interested in, and the continent as a whole. What exactly are the lessons for us?
Well, to be honest with you, if you're calling for invasion of your country by another country, you are either naive, or maybe you have short supply of patriotism, or you don't really understand the situation. I am completely against any U.S. invasion of Nigeria, but I support constructive engagement with the Nigerian government to find lasting solutions. This bilateral, multilateral engagement, these are the norms, okay? Countries work together, but you cannot invade a nation. And tell me one country that the U.S. has invaded and brought peace?
Mm.
Is it Sudan? Okay, is it Libya? Is it Iraq?
All
Tell
right.
me one country, please, if you can. So at the end of the day, this is going to.
I mean, you're not.
I'm okay with excuse me. I'm okay with occasional.
Yes.
Occasional airstrike
I mean,
against bandits because our government has failed. That's no doubt about that. The federal government of Nigeria to provide insecurity. We respect and acknowledge what our security forces, the military, are doing, but the political will on the part of the federal government is lacking, and that is why this terrorism and and banditry continues to grow, unfortunately, in our country.
All right. We have to leave it here, Mr. Alkali. I mean, I'm glad that you had to perhaps balance your submission, because for those who have been attacked, for families and those who have lost family and friends in attacks in northern Nigeria and many parts, in fact, the recent attacks read in the news
I've been attacked myself.
Yeah, so I like the fact that there was that balance in your submission. But we must leave it here. Thank you indeed. Public policy analyst Alkali Abubakar Alkali, live for us from the United Kingdom. As always, thanks for your insight on the program.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Just before we go, let's take a listen now to the president of the Ogoni Youth Federation talking about supporting President Bola Tinubu and calling for the implementation of the Ogoni Dialogue Committee reports to improve confidence building initiatives aimed at addressing long-standing challenges in Ogoni land.
Commend Mr. President for prioritizing the Ogoni OSP cleanup under the hydrocarbon pollution remediation projects within the Renew Hope agenda, and for sustaining this commitment 10 years on. The progress recorded, especially in the past 2.5 years, and the benefits now enjoyed by ordinary Ogoni people are heartwarming. Our once poisoned land is yielding fruits again through responsive remediation. Our people at home and in the diaspora are satisfied with the current leadership of HIPREP under Professor Neni Barini Zabi. Henceforth, Ogoni must enjoy the rights of first refusal in all oil and gas related activities within Ogoni land.
All right, presidents of the Ogoni Youth Federation talking about supporting President Bola Tinubu and calling for the implementation of the Ogoni Dialogue Committee report. Well, that report does it for us here on Lunchtime Politics this hour. Thanks indeed for watching. On behalf of the production team and everyone here, I am Kelly Egiga, and you have just been served on Lunchtime Politics. Good afternoon.